So the University of Rochester was founded and opened in 1850, and we had only one building at that time, and it was downtown, and the building's still there. If you've gone down to Nick Tahoe's for a garbage plate, you've probably driven past our first building, which was called at the time the U.S. Hotel, and is on West Main Street, and if you just look, the Open Door Mission is just to the right of it as you face the building, and you'll know it by it has matching chimneys or on both ends, and they look somewhat like the chimneys on the buildings here on campus as well. It's very squared, an angle and a square top.
See a little bit about myself. So why did a recruiter approached me about 6 years ago and described this university that was on the move and sounded really exciting. Came here, learned about what Joel was trying to accomplish, and there was a lot of activity, a lot of work on the construction side and the design side, and found it intriguing and wanted to be part of it and help to shape the university and the medical center. If you look at our campus, we have it's really an aggregation of buildings, and one of the concepts that Irsay and Gross talked about in terms of how our buildings are arranged is that there's a sense of heroic buildings and soldier buildings. So you have something like Rush Rees being this heroic building, and then you've got Dewey and Lattimore and Bausch and Lomb being sort of soldier buildings that begin to frame quads and squares and create larger spaces. As we look at putting new buildings in, a good example would be Redner Hall. We pay attention to major circulation paths and look at how we can use these circulation paths to actually activate the building. So when Redner Hall was conceived, it was conceived in a way that we could basically take advantage of the major circulation from the dorms that were immediately to the north, that people could walk up this sort of stair that could either take you up to the main Eastman Quad, or you could go into the tunnel system. But as you walk through the building on this major pedestrian path, you can actually experience the building and see the activities that are going on. I mean, so much about college life today is, is how do you promote a sense of community? And what I would say is that my job as university architect probably centers more on placemaking. I mean, we really focus on how do you create environments that basically get students to gather with students, faculty to gather with faculty.
So my organization is Partners in Reading. They're a volunteer organization that sends student volunteers to 3 different schools in the Rochester City School District, which is really important to us because the city school district's graduation rates, to be honest, are really abysmal, and we want to kind of bridge the gap between, what we can do as university students for the City of Rochester. So we work in the 3 different schools under 3 different projects. So we have Project Care, which goes to School 19 up in the ward, and Project Grow, which goes to School 3, and Project Reach, which goes to School 33 over across the city. even though we are such a large presence, it doesn't really feel like there's much of a connection between the students here and the actual city. Um, I think about comparing it to other city schools, like I think of UPenn, where the border between the school and the city seems a lot more dissolved. Um, it's not always like a physical one as much as like a mental one. We don't really think about the people outside of the university. I grew up in a relatively diverse area, so I wasn't aware of kind of the separation, like the dichotomy that exists in urban and suburban life in Rochester and the surrounding areas, and like between the university and the city. Very stark contrasts to me that I had never really been exposed to before and never really thought about. Again, going back to not recognizing your privilege, you don't really until you see how much higher you're standing and how many more opportunities you have than other people. And I really saw it here, and it really, really impacted me. That was through Partners in Reading first. That was that first step that I took, which was a personal one at first, a selfish one, that kind of eventually became really, really important to me. And that has like shaped what I want to do for a living. I no longer want to teach, well, not as a career path. I want to work, I want to work as one of the support systems that helps school communities thrive, kind of from a different angle. And I never thought when I came here that that's something that would become so important to me. So yes, it has impacted me a lot.
Well, there's a lot of background to it, but when I moved here in 2008, it was, as you know, right when the economy crashed. And actually, every city I've ever lived in, whenever I move somewhere, I always look to see what the major food bank is, because that's something that's always been very important to me. The wife of my mother's organ teacher in college, who was sort of like a second grandmother to me, ran the Lewisburg Food Bank in Pennsylvania. And so as a child, I used to go there with her, and I was very aware of the importance of helping with the food insecurity problem that is really prevalent here all over the world, and also here in the United States, which is as we know, it's one of the wealthiest countries in the world. And to have food insecurity being such a prominent issue and problem really at the base of our society, it's something I've always felt that it's very important that we support and try to help. And so when I moved to Rochester, it being a smaller city, obviously cities like New York and Boston where I came, there's a serious poverty and food insecurity problem. But here in Rochester, it starts 2 blocks from Eastman, that we have a horrible statistic of 50% of our children living in poverty in this city. And so when I moved here, I wanted to start a chamber music series, but I also wanted to do something for the food bank, for Food Link. And somehow it all just came together as this idea. And I thought, what would be better than to have something really pure that, we don't raise money for any other cause. We don't have a board. We don't have anybody donating. Everybody donates every aspect of this. And there's a purity about it because of that. Where the price of admission, everything goes to Food Link. You can bring a can of soup if that's all you have. And sometimes what the students have, that's what they have. And they bring a can of soup or a box of pasta, or you can write a check, or you can bring a cash. You can bring $5. Some people give $200. Some people only give $1, but it all helps. And we come together and we share this wonderful music. Music feeds our souls, and it's really important. And obviously, food feeds our bodies, and it goes together. And so again, the way this all sort of came to me all at once, that the famous Duke Orsino quote from Twelfth Night, "If music be the food of love, play on." And so I thought, let's leave the implication open. If music be the food, and that's why I have the ... in the title of it, then what? Then we're sharing our love of music, we're feeding our souls, we're helping to feed the hungry in the community, and it's all because of sharing love in every way.
was adopted or written and adopted back in the mid to late 1980s. It was called the Genesee River South Corridor Plan. And basically it was a cooperative effort between the university and the city to kind of develop the river corridor and enhance the university campus and try to expand the campus beyond at the time its current boundaries and kind of cross the river and get students and faculty to live across the river and basically people in that neighborhood to come across and experience the campus and the river trail and things like that. So the pedestrian bridge was a project. The Brooks Landing development was a project in that plan. The enhancement of Wilson Boulevard and the development of the river trail along the eastern bank of the river and some of the other physical improvements to the campus regarding the frat houses and some of the other physical elements of the campus in that area were all part of the plan. Mm-hmm. So that was developed as a joint effort between the city and the university. It was adopted by city council, and then that kind of guided a lot of the development effort in the area between Ford Street and Elmwood Avenue actually for many years. University has developed its master plan and is trying to kind of expand to the south and to the east more, and College Town was a part of that, and they basically decided to purchase an old Wegmans grocery store that was on Mount Hope that had become vacant right near the Strong Hospital, and the concept that was developed was to kind of create like a university village type of thing with businesses and restaurants and housing and a parking garage and some other amenities. So that was another attempt on the university's part, I think, to kind of, again, expand the boundary and get the students off the campus and get them out into the urban environment along Mount Hope and in the southeast part of the city. So it's become very successful. I think they're also looking at developing other amenities to the south along the river and including open space and parkland and more parking and other things that they need as far as the physical plant of the university. I think there's been a lot of discussion going on with the university over the course of the last few years about the design of the College Town development itself and what the components would be and how they would relate to each other and how the public realm would be developed in conjunction with College Town. So there's the public space of the street and the sidewalks, but then there's the private development of the university and what they wanted to do on their land. So the city and the university were developing that together and trying to develop an overall concept. I think they had to develop a planned unit development district, which had its own separate set of zoning regulations and zoning requirements, and that was all negotiated and discussed with the university cooperatively, and it was a joint effort.
It's interesting and it's exciting, all in the same realm, that we have an opportunity now to change what we're going to look like 5 or 10 years from now, and we think that we have the tools available to us in our tool belt that are going to guide us to do that. We have a great zoning code. We're updating our comprehensive plan that's going to help guide development and redevelopment within the City of Rochester. We want to improve on our waterfront, bring more entertainment downtown. We also are looking at asking our stakeholders what their thoughts and their visions are for downtown and the surrounding areas as well. So it's going to come together. It's going to take some time, but we have a really good team of people here in planning and zoning, and also our business stakeholders and our residential stakeholders that are very interested in where we're going, and they want to be part of that team. One of the components of the comprehensive plan, I'm hoping, is to take a closer look at what millennials need and what they would like to see in their own city, what's going to keep them here, and what attracts them in the first place. One of the things that I've noticed is that The millennials like things they can touch and feel and experience, and that's what grabs their attention, and they want to be part of it. And they don't want to be a part of it from the point where they are actually making a donation for something. They want to use their time and their efforts to help guide where things are going. So from an entertainment perspective, it could be festivals, outdoor live entertainment, arts and markets types of things, and it's anything that's interesting to our residents and to our business owners, and we want to bring that downtown and to our neighborhoods as a whole.
If you look at the professorships that are around, you may see that there are Wilson professors or Xerox professors or scholarships in those names. And of course, Joe Wilson, whose name you see all over the place, or his family's name, Wilson Commons is actually named for the Wilson family. It's not just for Joe Wilson. And Wilson Boulevard was named actually by the city in honor of Joe Wilson. It's not that he gave money to have it called Wilson Boulevard. But he then was, he's often called the founder of Xerox. In fact, Xerox changed its name from Haloid. Wilson was a class of 31 student here, 1931, and he then went to Harvard Business School, and he then went into what was not quite the family business, but almost the family business, which was Haloid. If we go to the Eastman School and see, if we go to the Eastman Theater and see a performance, we're seeing the impact of the school on Rochester. Like Eastman's feeling of educating his workforce, if you look at the top of the Eastman Theater, it says, for the good of the community, essentially is what it says. He was not building the Eastman Theater and starting the Eastman School solely for the benefit of the university at all. That theater and the music that was going to be performed in it, and the movies, because it was actually built also for movies, that was meant for the community.